All right, guys. This is another episode brought to you by me, but also,
Hi.
this is Allison. For OPSEC reasons, again, we will not be revealing a lot of the details of our personal lives. However, we will be going into a lot of the AFSC and the things that we do. And the reason why, again, we're doing this is to help those who are transitioning to this role, kind of give you guys a broader aspect of what we do. So let's get to it. I'm gonna have Allison here introduce herself. I want you to tell us about your Air Force background, how you got in OTS, ROTC Academy, and just tell us overall what you've been doing.
Absolutely. So my name is Allison, and my AFSC is 32E3G, which means that I'm a civil engineer for the Air Force. The 3 just means I'm a 3 level. I'm qualified to do my job, and G qualifies me as being a general engineer. So in civil engineering, we have different shred outs that allow us to have different differentiation between the type of jobs you can do for the different types of degrees you have. So in order to be a civil engineer for the Air Force, you are required to have an engineering degree. Although just recently we did allow now you can have a construction management degree and be a 32E. So huge development for the engineering community that we now allow that non-technical degree, but still has a construction and most importantly, project management focus. So in my role, I commissioned through ROTC back in 2018. I was on scholarship through the program. I had a technical scholarship, which required me to maintain having an engineering degree that I was studying in school. So I studied civil engineering with a concentration in construction.
Here's the thing too, is something you need to take consideration of is there's different kinds of engineers. And civil engineering, hers is perhaps one of the most important engineering because they deal with a lot more infrastructure. And I myself did not know what she did in the beginning, and I thought it'd be really interesting to get her perspective on what they did. So I'm gonna have her specifically talk about that a little bit more. And again, I have no clue what she did in the beginning, but she's going to elaborate more on what she does.
So there are basically 2 different types of jobs you can have in civil engineering on the broad scale. So one side is called Prime B, which is your primary base emergency engineering force. And your other side is Red Horse, which is a very long acronym. We can go into that more later. But basically the 2 differences between the 2 is your prime beef unit is going to be everything that has to do with base infrastructure and maintaining your base, constructing new assets on the base, recovering the base. So in that career field, you'll find specific jobs related to like CBRN. That's one of the jobs we have. EOD falls under us, so explosive ordnance disposal. Firefighters fall under us. But then also a lot of construction management and then facility maintenance. So anytime you have an issue with your building, your roof's leaking, your toilet stops working, you've got a crack in your wall, which is not good, anything like that, or even as small as you have an infestation of bugs in your building, you would call CE. We'd be the ones to respond to that and take care of those jobs. The majority of my work that I've done in civil engineering in a prime beef unit has been with engineering flight. In an engineering flight, we do the construction management, so developing projects for our customers. So for example, if our services folks like an FSS, they wanted to have a new deck put on their building, for example, then my job would be to go talk to the customer, figure out their requirements, write up a statement of work, present that to contracting. Contracting would find me contractors. I'd review the contract and what the customer, or what contracting, is providing to me, make sure it actually lines up with what my customer wants, and then work with contracting to come up with the most cost-effective option. Once they've determined that and find the contractor who can do that work for us, then my job would then be to manage that contractor, oversee that contract and that work that gets done, and watch the contractor as they perform their work, make sure that it's applying with what contracting has told them to do, and make sure that they can give a timely product to our customer so the FSS, for example, can get their deck to be able to have their summer bash or whatever the case may be in this situation. Alternatively, I also worked in operations flight. So when I was working in operations flight, that's when I was able to work a little bit more of the facility maintenance side of things. So when people were coming up to me and saying, hey, my hot water's not working, it was my job then to go and talk to the team, get that solved quickly as possible, figure out if it was the actual equipment that had burnt out, like the actual water heater had died, or if there was some issue that was going on with the plumbing in the building, and come up with a solution for that, getting that executed because nobody likes taking cold showers. So that's mostly what Prime Beef does. And then on the other side, my current job now working with Red Horse, it's heavy construction. So that's what we do over there. So we are developing, designing and managing construction using troop labor specifically. So everybody that's working on my project is an enlisted airman, and they can be in any AFSC actually, which is really nice. We do a lot of total force operations, so we're able to pull people in, but we use all of our AFSCs in engineering to execute those construction projects. Whereas in Prime Beef, we are contracting out that work to get done if it's a construction project. But I will use my enlisted force for those operations flight problems, such as the facility maintenance. So a little bit difference of where you have your enlisted force being utilized and what kind of projects they're working on.
That's very interesting, only because I did not know a lot of that. I was actually saving our conversation for this specific reason. And it's very similar to the medical side. However, when you think of the Air Force, you want to think of like the operational side, and then you have your specialties on the other side. So like we call it line and non-line sides, and she's more on the line side, where she at her level of being a captain, she's doing way more than what I'm doing. Seeing that you know her workload is heavy. However, you know, once you start to advance to those, you know, to those higher ranks or whatnot, now you're thinking of more of an operational. So for you to even advance to her level, every lieutenant, no matter what AFSC, you're starting at the tactical level, and then you're advancing slowly to the operational level. That's why they build you up from ground up. It's literally get the job so you understand the outcomes. From the outcomes is the bigger Air Force. So, you know, that's granted you stay over 10 years, 10, 15, 20 years, however long it may be. Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great point you're making, though, because like in our career field, we do try to start out folks at the programming level, which is where you just kind of talk about projects and how to get the funding for it.
Absolutely.
And starting at that very basic level, because as an engineer, you need to know where the money comes from, because that's the most important thing for us for our job, is figuring out how are we going to pay for these projects to get done. So we start out usually at that programming level, work that job, and then you might go into project management, and then kind of into the operations of like actually solving some problems. And then you get to go do a job like I'm doing with Red Horse, where my job is to design, manage, construct, do all of that, overseeing a team. My last project had 158 airmen on it. So yeah, a lot of people reporting to me on the project I designed. So it is very much of that, building those layers of those blocks so that way you understand all the different steps that come into it. So you're not just thrown immediately into, oh, you have a degree in engineering, design a building, because that would be insane. If anybody's graduated from an engineering degree or is in college right now with an engineering degree, they would know very well that if the professor told them to design a building, they might be able to run some calculations, but trying to figure out exactly how it all goes together, and then how does the team even do the construction. That would be, I know when I was a lieutenant, when I just graduated from college, like I had no idea what I was doing. I was looking around like a deer in the headlights trying to figure things out. So it is very much those building blocks to get you to that position where you can actually execute a project.
Which leads me to the next question. Do you plan on staying in the Air Force? If so, what are your goals, and what do you want to do next?
Ultimately, I'm just in the Air Force until I stop having fun. I've been very fortunate to be able to use my use the Air Force for some of the benefits that I've had. I've been able to get my master's degree. I was able to get my professional engineer certification, my license, and I've also got my PMP certification, which is project management professional. So I've been able to really use the Air Force to allow me to get some more of these credentials and accreditations that I would need to be an effective engineer on the outside if I choose to get out.
That's the beautiful thing too, is like I've always elaborated on this channel, that if you seek the opportunity in the Air Force, it will be given to you. Again, take note that on the line side, they try to develop you faster, whereas on the medical side, it's a very gradual thing, because you're dealing more with lives versus like infrastructure, systems or whatnot. The beautiful thing about her story is, by the time she leaves, whenever that is, if she decides to even stay, or like even her versus what I do, whenever we leave, we are set for life. Considering that we have like squadron officer school where we're already at the operational level, once we finish this, let's say I decide to get out first, I won't be working at the bedside. I'd be already at the operational level where I could lead units. So it's the same thing with her. She'll be a project manager doing bigger things. So the next question is, I think you've already practically answered that. You know, what has the Air Force done for your career? I guess go into more of what it can do for your career. Like, let's say what you've already done your projects here. Let's say you pin on major, you make it to the next level, and with your centers of gravity. Now let's talk about strategic. Like, I guess what it could do for you strategically?
Oh, wow. Okay. Big question there. So what could the Air Force do for me strategically throughout my career, staying in or getting out?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think what you're kind of saying on that point of the Air Force does a really good job of developing their airmen and giving you those skills that you're going to need. When you graduate with an engineering degree from college, engineering likes to tell you that you're going to be super valuable and everybody's going to love you. But if you actually look at the amount of money that you'd make as an engineer, you kind of cap out probably around 80K or so. Whereas, yeah, it's a lot lower than you'd think.
I honestly thought it'd be over 100.
Yeah, I mean, it can be, but that's honestly when you get more into the project management side. Okay. So engineering degrees are fantastic because it teaches you how to think. Anybody in any engineering school will always tell you the whole point of engineering is not to get you really good at math and science, it's to teach you how to think. So because you're able to come in with this knowledge already from the get-go, as a second lieutenant, you come in with already know how to think. Basically, the Air Force's job is okay, you know how to think? Let's teach you how to plan. Let's teach you how to take care of those secondary and tertiary effects. Let's teach you how to figure out what's going to happen with money. So it's really kind of teaching you those bigger skills that you would need if you want to become like an executive, for example, at a company. So if I was choosing to get out at this point, with the fact that I have my PE and my PMP and I have my master's and I have my credentials from the jobs I've done in the Air Force so far, I would probably be looking at doing mid to upper level leadership in a company that would be working as a project engineer or project manager more specifically. Would not really be doing a lot of engineering work because at this point I've already proven myself that I can do engineering, and at this point they'd be hiring me more for my project management capabilities and my people management capabilities, which the Air Force has really been able to teach that a lot better. The civil engineering community is a huge community. We have a large amount of enlisted. We've got E0s through E9, E30 through E39, our different AFSCs and the different shredouts we have through there. So as a engineer in a typical Prime Beef unit or even in a Red Horse unit, you will find out how to manage and work with all those different skill sets, all those different AFSCs doing all those different types of jobs. So learning how to communicate with people that are doing different skills than you and have different knowledge bases than you, because as an engineer, even though my degree was in civil engineering, I have to be qualified in mechanical engineering as well as electrical engineering. So I get a wide breadth of knowledge on knowing all different types of engineering, how those engineers think, what information they need to get their job done. And I learned that all at the very beginning at the lieutenant level. So from captain and on, it's more about the people management skills that I have and the project management skills of building that depth of knowledge of, okay, so now you have constrained resources, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of time, you might not have a lot of people. How do you get this project done, accomplish the goals that your leadership has set for you with these constraints? And being able to take that knowledge set and that information that I'm being taught and that way of thinking, being able to take that to a company, which is, trying to get a project done for a city, for example, building a new infrastructure like San Antonio, huge booming city. It's probably going to have a huge infrastructure problem in a couple of years because they've got so many houses and so many people moving there and not as much money going into the electrical and sewage and wastewater and water treatment plants that you'd probably need to support that population boom. So, but because of working in the Air Force, being able to have those different thought processes of, I was not pigeonholed just into civil engineering. It very easily could have been if I'd worked for a civil engineer company if I got out of college and did straight that. But because the Air Force requires me to understand mechanical engineering and learn about plumbing systems and HVAC systems, and requires me to learn about electrical and learn about infrastructure for electrical systems and transformers and switches and understand how that all ties together to create an all-encompassing infrastructure for a facility or a base or really a city. That allows me now to take that knowledge set that I have and my project management skills that I've been learning to a company and say, hey, I know how to do all of these types of systems, at least a basis of understanding, and I know how to manage the people that need to be operating these types of systems. So put me in that position where I can then lead this large group of people, this large diverse group of very technical, very smart people, and accomplish our goals with constraints on my resources, such as my money and my time.
Throughout the series that I'm making, you're going to see a revolving theme of middle management and also leadership and systems, and basically an overarching view of what is going on. That is where we are as captains. We're not expected to think at the base level. The base level is entry level. So now you're thinking as a leader, how do we get these problems solved? Not only with people, with her specifically, it's infrastructure, people, projects, and you have to think at like a systems level. If you take one cog out, it's not going to work. And that is the number one thing that we are doing at the level we're at right now. And you've heard me talk about my job as of recent is like I'm working at that level. So is she. And hers is like basically on steroids because now she's forced to manage over 100 personnel and what they do. And she has to a sense, micromanage, but not really micromanage. It's more so like, let me check in with my subject matter experts who are supervising these people. How are they doing? But like, you know, again, now you're thinking systems and who do I go to? Who do I speak with? How do I get this job done? So that's practically her story. And for all the engineers, civil engineers, or whatever kind of engineer you are, like there's always a way that the Air Force could use you. And we recently had a lecture on multi-capable airmen.
Oh yeah.
And she's practically the jack of all trades specific to her area, and she could do way more than that. Like if she were to walk into like for example, an executive position and they're like, I need you to get this project done. She's that person. She's actually a really great leader.
Thank you.
She's not given a lot of credit where credit is due. I know, you know, it's all about listening. It's all about being an effective leader, effective follower, but like she has it. And with that being said, what inspirational words do you have for the engineers trying to get into this field?
Engineers are the ones that are being taught how to think. I said that already earlier. But there's so much more to life than just thinking about problems. And there is so much more that you are capable of doing. And a lot of times, a lot of engineers, especially in school, they are worried about their soft skills. And you can be super highly technical and really, really smart, but having those people skills is ultimately what's going to be able to take you from that basic engineer level to now rising into a little bit more of that leadership level. So if you are someone who maybe feels like they're a little bit more shy or feels like they could work on those kind of soft skills and wants to be able to work more with people and doesn't want to just be holed away in a little cubby hole working, 60 hours a week to design the best culvert possible for a city drain. If you want to really kind of expand your knowledge set and expand your skill set and your toolbox to become the best person you can be and give yourself the best possible opportunity that you could have and ultimately give your future family the best opportunities that they could have of having a legacy of success, of developing those skills that you need to go far in life, then I would highly recommend an opportunity, at least looking into the possibility of joining the Air Force, becoming a civil engineer for the Air Force. And again, it's called civil engineering because we do things that involve civilization, but it's not just limited to civil engineers. Electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, I'll say it again twice, construction managers, we need all of you guys as well. Environmental engineers, we need you guys a lot. I think the Air Force could do a lot better if we had a better understanding of environmental engineering. But really, any of those types of engineers, industrial engineers, come on in, join the Air Force, learn how you can make everything all kind of tie together and really ultimately have that, not necessarily at that micromanaging level of understanding, but that knowledge base that goes broader than just your small section that you were taught in school. Allow yourself to be expanded, open up your mind, open up your opportunities, allow yourself to develop those skill sets that are going to be ultimately the ones that are going to take you further in life to set up yourself for success and your future families for success, to allow you to have this ability to lead and talk to people with confidence and pursue things that you probably didn't think that you'd be able to do again. If I ever thought that back when I was a second lieutenant or even when I was in college that I'd have a team of 158 people doing something that I designed, no, absolutely not. And especially being the youngest person on the team. And for the female engineers out there, being a female engineer and working with 99% men and having them all look to me and go, hey ma'am, what do you think we should do on this? What's the solution? And me being able to say, we need to do this. And they go, yes ma'am, and they go off and do it. Having that confidence built in and from such a young age, so I'm not that old, I'm still in my 20s, is such a valuable skill that I am so grateful that I've had the opportunity to develop and learn so that if and when I do decide to get out of the Air Force and separate, that I'm going to be able to take that to a company and not feel like I am, treated as less than or not able to share my piece or tell my side of the story or advocate for what I know is right and what I think we should be doing. So I am incredibly grateful for this opportunity that I've had And if anybody else would think that they would like to develop those soft skills and still work in a job that's highly technical and set themselves up for success, I think they really should look into becoming a Air Force Civil Engineer 32E.
I hope this video helps you. I will put her contacts down here, specifically probably her email, nothing else. But if you need to reach out to a civil engineer or engineering in general, she will be a subject matter expert for you, someone who you could reach out to. And this channel is evolving to something else. And I just want to bring more people on here so they could speak on what they do. And she's just one of the many people who I'm interviewing, but civil engineering is like something that I feel like needs to be talked about, and I have not seen it on YouTube. They do have other sources out there. They have a page like she mentioned. I'll get those and I'll put that down below too. But to have someone speak about it, I've not seen much online, and I feel like this could help hundreds, if not thousands, down the line. So besides that, I hope you guys are doing great. I'll see you guys in the next video. I don't know who's up next, but that should be coming out soon. Y'all take care.
Okay, thanks.
All right, cool. Very nice.
Cool.
Yeah, it was.
What are the words you're supposed to say? Like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I used to do like audio-visual announcements all the time. So like I had to do all the different like word phrases.
Alright.
Like, she sells seashells by the seashore.
Yeah. La la la.
La 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 la.
All right.
Put this in the blooper reel.
I know.